Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing today?
Good evening.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. So we're going to start with the Equity Advisory Committee meeting of February 9th, 2021. Let the record show that the meeting started at 7:01 p.m. on February 9th. We will start with the review of the minutes.
Do we have any, any edits, substitutions, or amendments?
Do you have the minutes to post up for a minute while we give them a time to deliberate, Kate?
Do you want me to share it? Yep, no problem.
Yes, please.
Mhm. Although they're quite extensive.
Yes.
They're very long, so I'm hoping that all the members had a chance to review them in advance because I'm not known for succinct minute keeping.
Yes, well, let me just ask for record. Has everyone received a copy of the minutes?
Yes, we did.
All right. I have a motion to pass the minutes for January 12th, 2021.
I motion to accept the minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Any nays? Anyone abstain? Let the record show that the minutes were passed unanimously for January 2021. If my lovely co-host and secretary can give me the screen back, I will pull up the agenda, or you can pull it up if you want, since you already have control.
Do you have? Okay, so you can share. Go ahead, John. I'm trying to type at the same time.
Everybody see the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So the first thing we're going to do for the agenda is talk about, once again, community contact, meaning how does the community contact the Equity Advisory Committee? We know we will do this several times over the next couple of months, especially with this only being our second meeting. So we're going to try to explain the line of communication a little bit more clearer today, and just have us reiterate some of the things that we said last month in our first initial public meeting. So for community contact, if you're looking to reach out to the Equity Advisory Committee, you can go to our website at chestertownunites.com, message us there, or you can email us at chestertownequityadvisory@gmail.com. What we've had lately in the community is a lot of sidebarring, meaning people are not trying to go through this process to give ideas, tips, or about the plan, to give commentary, to get on the agenda. In order for us to advise the town properly, we need to get all information in at one central location, and then have a chance as a committee to review the information before we can advise the town. So what I will do now is, in the midst of the communication, authorizations, agenda, and public comment, I'll comment on the communication and authorization, and then I will turn it over to our co-facilitator. I'm in facilitation mode from last month. Don't worry about that. I'll get out of it. I'm gonna turn it over to Kate and have the secretary explain how the agenda and the public comment section work. But what I want to do at the moment is talk about communication and authorization. The Equity Advisory Committee is an extension of the town. We are advising the town on the implementation of their 16-month comprehensive plan, Chestertown Unites Against Racism. When it comes to authorization, meaning you can't have a logo on your flyer at your event or something that's deemed as part of the plan without the mayor and council being aware of it and approving it, and then the members of the Equity Advisory Committee approving it. I seen a few flyers out with the logo on it. I spoke to all parties involved. There's multiple people who have done this, not to point the finger at one specific group or individual. It's just, for this town, we must be able to authorize this on behalf of the town and say, this is something we approve, this is something we sanction. Authorization only comes from two places: the mayor and council, once we advise them on something, and the Equity Advisory Committee members and chairman. There is no other outlet. There is no other permission slip you need to fill out. You have to go through the proper channel. So with that, I'll turn over the commentary to Kate for the agenda and the public comment to help focus on what our objective is and how we want the communication from public to us to conduct. Go ahead, Kate.
So we've had some confusion and kind of about how our committee's working, and also how, and so that's related to kind of how we are dealing with the information. So the way I've been explaining it is that we're essentially working backwards. We normally have, if you join like a public working group like this, you're given a problem and you come up with solutions within the group and then you do implementation. In our case, the problem, equity, has already been identified. The solution, at least, you know, in the way that Chestertown is going to work on it, has been identified already and laid out and approved, which is a 16-month plan, which puts us in the process of being implementers. And we're implementers in the sense that like we're putting together recommendations that the town has to then adopt because we're advisory. So like this is a very weird in how groups normally work. And I realize it's not necessarily intuitive and can honestly seem counterintuitive. So to that end, we're trying to like figure out the best way when we have people that are interested in working with us. And we're lucky that we, you know, have groups in Chestertown and the county that are offering. And that's, and maybe more groups than we not necessarily expected, or at least we've got to figure out how to channel their time and their abilities in ways that actually can be implemented within the plan. So for anybody who's interested, and if you talk to anybody in the community that's sort of like, oh, like, you know, I'm really interested in the, you know, the memorial statue or whatever it's going to be at the end, at the foot of High Street, or like, what's happening with Juneteenth? I want to get involved. What they should do is they should email us with what deliverable in the 3 pillars they want to help with. And, you know, it's laid out easily. Anybody can go to the website and see that laid out really clearly. These are the 15 things that we're supposed to work on in, frankly, a really short amount of time. So if they can look at the plan and say, okay, yeah, we want to work on Juneteenth. Can we help with that? Like we could, you know, work with you on, you know, we've got a connection to like musicians. It would be awesome. You know, we'd love to partner with you. What'll happen is John will get that email because it goes through Chestertown Unites. Then he'll say, okay, this is the group that's working on that particular part of the initiative, that deliverable. And then he'll connect them with the right people. The confusion that we have is that I think often public meetings like this, you're like, to be heard, you have to be on the agenda and you kind of talk about what you've got. And then there's this follow-up process. We'd rather have the public meetings be an opportunity for the public to understand what we're working on. So we're totally transparent, but that if groups want to work with us, they reach out through email so that we can make sure that they're connected with the right people that are working with the right part of the plan. So I hope that seems like intuitive. I know it may not, but we think this is going to be the most structured way to kind of like direct the excitement and the enthusiasm that so many different organizations have and people within Chestertown and the county, and kind of make sure that they get directed towards the right people. Because as we know on the committee, we're not all working on everything. We all, you know, John's really good at keeping us informed, but like, you know, when I think like, for example, today we had a request from the LMB about they're interested in sort of offering like us understanding what their trainings are. So I directed them to Ruth and to Vic because I know they're working on that particular initiative. So that's a good example. But we all kind of as committee members need to provide that information to the public so that they can understand, because you know, this is not necessarily the most typical of organizations. Any questions on that? Sorry, I rambled.
Any comment from committee members? Any further articulation is needed for the understanding, or do we as a committee understand our roles as it pertains to the information Kate just said? Are we good?
Yes.
Hey guys, one thought. Kate, I heard you say that, the folks can go to the website and they can kind of look at the 3-pillar plan and the initiatives under it and then reach out. I wonder if there's not a way to automate that a little bit by creating a contact us form on the website that then lets people sort of select, I'm interested in volunteering or sharing information about, and then have them self-select or identify from the 3 pillars and the different initiatives within it, so that when that contact form goes into the mailbox, it's already kind of self-selected and identified, and maybe kind of collect some of that upfront information, like I'm a volunteer with insert organization here, and maybe collect a little more robust data. I don't know if that would help kind of move things along, but given
No, I think it will.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a great suggestion, and I agree. Like, I think that way it doesn't put the onus on the public person, person to go back and read the plan. They can select
Yeah.
what part of the plan they want to help with. No, that's a great idea. I'd be happy to connect with Francoise about it and suggest that that's just an easier way so that it doesn't put the onus on the individual.
Yeah, because we're spending a lot of time having interested organizations and individuals, and it's actually been a lot, but the plan kind of envisioned 20 or more partnerships organization wise, and then big community buy-in. So it's not shocking, but it is a lot this early into the plan to have this many people invested in actually finding out what's going on. And then it'll cut out the back and forth in emails to where you can't really understand clearly what's going on or clearly what they're asking from us. Because a lot of times when you read the emails, it just looks like people and individuals and organizations, we just want to come on the agenda. And when they get the reply back that it's not just you can show up on the agenda, how are you involved with the plan and the implementation of it? I think we got a little confusion there, but myself and Kate has been working on clearing that up the last week. So I like the suggestion from Jen. So I think that will be another stream of keeping communication clear and direct. Any more comments and questions?
No, I was just saying, I think it's a good idea because somebody might meet me on the street, or the other day, Vic and I met with somebody from the town, board member who was really interested. And so if we had this form, we'll just go in and fill that in. That's also, it's like a sticky tape.
Yes.
So we'll remember, and we can follow up, because Vic, we probably, if they didn't come up, we then have to carry that in our memory and then try to deliver it. And
correct.
So that would really be good.
Yes. And that's what we're trying to take out of that, the confusion of each committee member saying somebody walked up to me and told me this and this and then us being all confused on how to line that. So I think that will be the proper direction in connecting with Francois and adding that, and then it'll take a lot of confusion out of the process. Any more comments? Right? Come on. So updates real quick, because I definitely want to get to the agenda and our guest today. So the updates, Chestertown Unite's website and YouTube channel launched January 2021. Actually, the actual date was January 18th for MLK Day. Once again, ChestertownUnites.com, Chestertown Unites on YouTube. All our material is archived there. You can check it out. Another update, community dialogue that we have held, part 1 of that, which we're looking to make this a 4-part series with Washington College, the SGA, town and council members, the Black Union, community members at large, and other organizations as well. We kicked that off January 2021 as well. We'll talk about that a little later on the agenda. I think it was a very positive event, and we'll just talk about it and update you all on that as well. We're also did the release of the Black Churches, part 1. Was released February 1st to kick off Black History Month of 2021. So we kicked that off. We have part 2 coming a little later in the month. It showcased Bethel AME and Faith Life Church. Am I saying that right, Bishop?
That is correct.
Yes, Faith Life Church with Reverend Brown and Bishop Fisher. Been getting a lot of positive feedback. The feedback that I've been getting the most is a lot of people weren't aware of Bishop and Reverend Brown and the influence they have in the community. So a lot of them were refreshed to hear their voice and started to understand that there are several community leaders. And I think Bishop Brown even said this in the video. There are a lot of community leaders in the church, in the community, and not just within the church, but to see that dynamic and people saying, wow, these two are great. Where's their churches located? How long have they been in Chestertown? And then have that history a little bit spoken to into part one. I've been getting a lot of feedback. Any comments, questions, concerns so far? Okay. Also, we have the Chestertown Unites banners and yard signs. So the promo video will probably release the day after tomorrow. It's in its final editing stages. And what it is, I don't know the length. I want to say 4 by 2 feet for the banners. And then the yard signs are, I don't know, I don't want to misquote it. I say 12 by 12 for now. So what it is because the town, if I'm not mistaken, cannot solicit payment for this. So you will be making a donation of $50 for the banner or a donation of $20 for the yard sign, and you are to pay it to the Town of Chestertown. There are banners and signs at Town Hall. Just go in, talk to them about securing a banner or a yard sign. If you are writing a check, please, in the memo section, write Chestertown Unites. The donations from these initiatives are going to fund other parts of the program, whether that's Juneteenth, Legacy Day, trainings, new events. We're using that donation money to kind of build a piggy bank while the town is in between budgeting cycles. Questions, comments, concerns?
Would it be possible for us to do like a table at the farmer's market, or, I'd certainly offer up one of our 2 storefronts to stick a table out front and kind of promote and advertise that they're available to help get them out into the community?
I would say that's possible. I don't think we should hop on that right now, because what we want those to get out into the community the best way possible, and I do like that idea as well. I don't think right now we want to compete with businesses and taking the attention off of them. I want to see how much traffic kind of trickles in on its own before we make a bigger push, because there's a lot of people interested in the plan. I want to see where that is before we just focus on money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I do like that idea as well. Comments, questions, concerns? All right. So the next thing we will do, we will go to the committee agenda. And speaking of which, piggybacking a little bit on the earlier process myself and Kate kind of went over. Here's a perfect example of when the process works correct. So Megan White reached out to myself about 2.5 months ago. And it was just, hey, we want to be a part of this. I want to get on the agenda. How does it work? And she and I started having phone conversations and Zoom meetings to where we're talking about pillars of the plan. We're talking about how does the college fit into this. We're talking about how, and not just when I say college, not just Washington College and staff. More specifically, we spoke in several conversations about how the students fit into this plan. To hear the perspective and then chop around and say, well, maybe these are some of the things that we can work on together. We wound up actually doing a community dialogue. So the first guest on the committee agenda tonight will be Megan White of Washington College SGA. And she's going to talk to us about some of the things that have been going on and some of the things that are going to go on in the future as it pertains to the plan. Chairman gives Megan White the floor.
Thank you. So as Mr. Queen said, my name is Megan White, and I am the Secretary of Service and Community Relations for the Student Government Association at Washington College. So I reached out to John back in December about getting the student body more involved in this process. And I've been really happy about the outcome that we've seen just in the short amount of time, and the future, or the kind of the plans that we've discussed for the future. So I know this was briefly discussed earlier, but I will say it again. We successfully hosted a part 1 of a community dialogue series. So we had members of the Kent County Black Union, our student body. We had a few faculty and professors sprinkled in the mix, and then 2 council people came to the conversation as well. And we addressed everything from the Capitol insurrection, so more broad national issues, as well as more specifically gentrification in Chestertown, and also the experience of students of color in Chestertown. And so that was kind of our first session. It was a really awesome discussion, introduced a lot of students to more community members, and also engaged in really meaningful conversation. So we're hoping to make this a 4-part series, so having 3 more parts, throughout the rest of the semester, done through Zoom, so all students can participate in it in a safe manner, with different topics depending on like what issues become prevalent to students, and then also the town. And we hope to, like John said, include more community members into this discussion. So that was the first thing.
Hold on,
The
Megan.
next, yeah,
Before you go on to the next thing, let's talk about the community dialogue a little bit, because myself, I was involved. Vic, he's here. He was involved. In Ellsworth, if you're at the screen, he was actually there. So I would love to hear some feedback from Vic and Councilman Tolliver on that experience and how it fits in the plan, and does it fit in the plan, and your thoughts and your takeaway from that perspective. I'll turn it over to Vic first, then Councilman Tolliver if he's there. Go ahead, Vic.
So one of the things that making progress on this plan requires is connecting groups of people who have shared concerns. In this case, members of the town, members of the student body at Washington College, and the opportunity to listen to each other, to talk, to share ideas, and I think most powerfully to make a connection that we can build on was a great opportunity. So I want to thank John for making that possible, and Megan, thank you for taking concerns that have been in the student body, like how do we get engaged with the community? How do we understand the issues that matter? But then actually going out and doing something about it, meeting the people you need to make conversations like this happen. So credit to the both of you for that event.
Thank you. Councilman Tolliver.
I don't really have much more to add to it than that. I do appreciate any open dialogue that we can have with the Washington College community to help bring the students and the staff more involved in what's going on in the town. So it was a great meeting. Anytime we get a chance to sit down and talk with Washington College students and hear their concerns about how their lives are being impacted by the decisions that we make in local government, it's always a positive thing. So I'm hoping that it is the first step towards a fruitful and long-lasting relationship.
Yes. And then in closing, and I'll turn it back to you, Megan. It was refreshing to hear students be completely honest at times. I have a gift of making people tell me their business. So I like how, because myself and Megan, we've worked on so many dynamics between us two, one-on-one. Like I would ask her questions as if she was in a dialogue to see how she would take things and see if that was a good direction. And just to hear how the students opened up almost immediately was powerful and surprising to me. So I know that energy that we seen from those students, if we bottle that up and then kind of guide them on all the other things that Megan will be talking about, I think this will be a very long-lasting friendship, connection, and networking moving forward, hence the Chestertown Unites. So Megan, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So that was that. The next thing that we also are working on is kind of participating in these gentrification videos that John mentioned earlier. So there's a variety of ways that we've thought of doing this. And one of the big things that we discussed how students can get involved is by making, creating a survey of sorts, and then going into different businesses, and even residents of Chestertown, and kind of asking what their observations are, if without flat out being like, have you seen gentrification in Chestertown, but asking like questions, kind of pulling information about how their clientele has changed, how their neighbors have changed, and kind of pulling at the issue of gentrification within Chestertown. And we're hoping to get that underway or getting more students involved late February and like early to mid-March. And then having a day where we go out and go survey, and they can make the video in March. I think that covered everything for that topic.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is later this week, John is meeting with myself, a few other students, and then the Secretary of Diversity and Inclusion for the Student Government Association to discuss other ways that our student body can get involved. And so we still have a lot of plans in the making, things that we want to work on and continue to build the relationship.
Yes.
So I just overall, like, the biggest goal that I see of this, of like student participating with the Equity Advisory Committee and the Chestertown Unites Against Racism plan, is engaging more of our student body in diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives through the town. The town has their own initiatives and the college has their own initiatives. And in the past, it's been very split. And we really want to integrate both of them together. And then also just continue to build that relationship, like was said earlier with the community dialogue, extend that invitation to students, have them feel more comfortable in the town, have them know more people in the town. And then hopefully, when things are safer, we can do in-person dialogues and in-person discussions and stuff like that.
Yes.
And that's all I had to say.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Megan. Any questions, comments, or concerns for Megan?
I like the fact that you're looking into making what's going on at Washington College with their diversity plan. I'm thinking too of the history group and what's going on with this group, to make sure that there is some merger so that they're sort of flowing in the same direction and not be just parallel courses.
Yes.
Ending up, in some different place.
Yes.
So I like that thought, because on that history committee, I represent the community, but because I've been at Washington College so long, I haven't been able to totally separate myself from Washington College. Now I'm really turning into the community person. That's what I'm trying to be now. So I'm happy to hear that. So I'll try to also be a little bit connected with that group from the perspective that I'm coming from. So thank you.
Yes. Jen.
Yeah, Megan, I don't know that we've met outside of this meeting. Your face is familiar, so I think you may have been in one of my 2 stores downtown before. I'm just going to speak really quickly to the outreach to the business owners. Things are a little complex inside businesses right now because many of us have really strong restrictions on the number of human people that can be inside the storefronts. So maybe one thing we can do to help set you up for success is to get you connected with the email list of business owners downtown, so that when you're doing, you and the students are doing the outreach, you might consider reaching out to business owners and saying, hey, when is the best time to pop in? Because like a Saturday morning is a really tough time. And sometimes like Friday mornings are a really tough time, but like a Tuesday might be really quiet. Only because things are really hard right now. Like we need people to come in our doors. And so we're really sensitive to the amount of time we spend with folks in non-customer facing discussions inside our building, because like in my stores, we can only have 5 people walk in the door at any given time. So, so maybe one way we could help you connect with people is by getting you their contact information and helping you navigate who's who and what business, so that you're able to speak directly to like you know, either the business owner or you know when you could pop in and or how's the best way to reach them. And you might even get better participation that way if folks know that you're kind of stopping in to have an important conversation with them, or you're trying to reach them about an important conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that feedback. And we would also obviously take COVID protocols extremely, extremely seriously when whatever we do. So
Oh,
safety
absolutely.
first.
I just wouldn't want you to be offended or upset if somebody was like, I'm at my store capacity. I'm so sorry. I can't have a
Oh, yeah.
conversation. And so whatever we can do to set you up for success and to get the information, I think there's some things we can do to help that.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And also, we haven't confirmed it yet, but I know the Black Union was interested in working with them on that as well. And then like 2 or 3 community members who also research and collect data on gentrification. So anything else in closing, Megan? Any more questions, comments, and concerns for Megan? All right. So what I would like to do now is also in the committee agenda section is turn the floor over to Professor Stacy Emerald. She's here on behalf of Washington College, and she's going to talk about some diversity and cultural trainings. And also, not to leave her out, the Claire Hansen is also here as well on behalf of the college. Is this almost like a Batman and Robin type vibe we got here? Is this what's going on?
Can I do a really brief introduction?
Yes,
John.
Nick.
All right. So Claire helped me out with looking at some of the options for what the college could provide, what topics we could address, and which groups might help us to connect with the town in terms of diversity training. So Claire helped me out with that. And in our discussions, we decided that the Jedi training that's being organized by Professor Emerald Stacy is the best fit. In particular, one of those actually she said that one of those trainings or discussions might be the best fit for town leadership. And so that's what she is going to talk about. And she is, just as a matter of introduction, the assistant professor of mathematics at Washington College, and also the faculty chair of the college's diversity committee. So lots of expertise going on here. All right, thanks.
Okay, Washington College. I see y'all loading the deck. We like it. We like it. Professor Stacy Emerald, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And thank you for the invitation to come. So for the last 6 months, I've been leading a team of 25 faculty, staff, and students in developing ongoing and sustainable trainings around issues of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And this was a direct result of the student letter of demands from last year, asking for annual ongoing training. So each session is being built by a team of 3 to 5 people. Each training is built over the course of about 6 months. We have 3 that just launched this week. We have 2 more that are coming in the next 6 weeks. The 3 that launched this week are on mitigating microaggressions, courageous conversations, and identity and privilege. The 2 that are coming in the next 6 weeks are one on anti-racism, which is the one that I think might be the best fit, and one on transgenerational racial trauma and health disparities, which is more of a science bend. It talks about epigenetics and actually what happens to your brain through generational trauma. Each session is designed to be done within 1 hour, although 90 minutes would be better. A lot of the college runs on 50 minutes at a time, so we've got to be able to get it set up that way. But stretching it out to 90 minutes means that there can be more time for conversations. We can do 1 extra case study in each session, that sort of thing. The sessions are capped at 18 participants per session because we want there to be a feeling of safety. We want it to be a kind of a small community feel. And each session is facilitated by 2 to 4 facilitators. The anti-racism session, which I think is probably the most applicable in this particular moment, although all of them are, I think, wonderful. Goes through 3 case studies where we look at different policies and evaluate whether they were racist policies, anti-racist policies, or non-racist policies. And one of the big focuses in the anti-racism session is recognizing that we're using the word racist or anti-racist to modify an action and not a human. Because when we want to critique our own behaviors, if we're looking at the behavior as the problem, that's easier for me to critique and improve upon than if I'm looking at myself as the bad thing. So we're talking about whether an action or a policy is in itself racist, anti-racist, or non-racist. The 3 kind of stories that we look at in that session, the first one looks at a policy in France from the 1950s. France has not collected any race data since the 1950s on anything.
Is that a reason for that?
There is a reason for that. And the reason for that was to prevent discrimination. Right? So this was like coming from a good place, but the result is that at this point they have no data on race. And so that's, an example of a non-racist policy that ultimately has had some negative consequences. The second, bringing it a little closer to home, we look at preschool teachers and the way that preschool teachers discipline students. I think that we can all agree that preschool teachers probably have some of the biggest hearts in the world and the best intentions. And yet the way that preschool teachers discipline children leads to these racial disparities. And then the third one, which is a little scary for me, but we're being brave, is we're looking at the incidences at Washington College last spring with the white truck driving through campus. And we're opening it up for brainstorming on what does an anti-racist response look like to that? What does a non-racist response look like to that? How can we do better? And really kind of getting in and grappling with that there's no clear answer. If I told you that if you painted all the buildings orange, racism would go away, we'd paint the buildings orange and we'd be done, right? Like, so these are really, really tough. The other sessions don't necessarily focus as much on race, although they can be tailored to be talked about race. For example, in the mitigating microaggressions session, we're talking about microaggressions, and then they can, if the people who are attending the session are interested in talking about race, we can have all of the examples of microaggressions be race focused. If it's about gender, then we can make it gender focused. If, for example, we're facilitating to a group of Alpha Chi girls, perhaps they will all talk about, they'll all have to do with something related to being in a sorority. Right, so all of these sessions are very adaptable to the audience. We're currently offering sessions that are open to anyone that you can register for. Those would be just a mixed audience of whoever is there. But we're also deploying sessions that you can request. So, for example, if you have a group of people that you are a part of that really want to look at, how to start having courageous conversations, how to make that first step, then you can request a session and we can find a time that works for you and run it for your particular group.
Let me ask, are you finished? We don't want to ask a bunch of questions in the midst of you delivering this.
I think I'm ready for a breath.
All right. Earlier you had said 18 people. Is this in person or via Zoom?
This is via Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Committee members, any questions, comments, concerns?
Yes, good afternoon. I would like to know where the information can be found when these classes are being offered and the times.
Oh, that is a great question that I should have probably prepared for. I can drop a link in the chat.
Yes, and of course we're because this is an ongoing process on trying to secure trainers for the town. We're going to ask many more questions to Vic, Claire, and Professor Stacy moving forward, where we're going to try to lock down some of this information. Any more questions, concerns, thoughts?
Emerald, with some of the scenarios you covered, would we be able to gently modify or tailor some of those scenarios in the case of, like, say, the town council, to help better connect it with some of the policy decisions that they make and or some of the, like, historic feedback we've received? Like I asked Vic in the chat about some of the themes that emerged from the SGA conversation, and he highlighted comfortability with coming downtown, for example, and the many dynamics. Would it be possible to work with you and your group to maybe slightly modify some of the scenarios for the town council members? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, that was my question, and I sort of didn't unmute myself in time. So.
Get it, Ruth.
Yeah, yeah, I would like to see a combination, because mitigating microaggressions is something that a lot of people are not aware of, and that's their behavioral, it's not, but I wasn't thinking that way. And so I think that needs to be a part of it. And courageous conversations. What was the fourth one? I'm sorry, there were 4 parts.
There was courageous conversations, mitigating microaggressions, identity and privilege.
Okay.
And then the 2 more that are coming soon are anti-racism and transgenerational racial trauma.
Okay. Yeah. And I think we could probably do more than one. So because it's a lot we need a lot, but you can't do all of this in one session. It probably need a couple or 3 sessions that could be lined up to show that. But there'll be another conversation to sort of work out what this advisory council would like for the training to look like.
Absolutely.
Yes, correct. Yes.
So I've dropped in the chat, I've dropped a link to the form where you can actually fill out to sign up for some of the ones that we've already just launched. And I've also put my email in there. My email would be the best way if, for example, if the town council wanted a session run just for the town council, or if the Downtown Chestertown Association wanted one, then they would reach out to me and we would find a time.
Yeah, so more specifically, I got more questions before we just let you off. I want to make sure I get this on public record. How much are the trainings?
The trainings are free.
Look, y'all hear that? The mayor tap dancing somewhere. Yeah, okay, Chris. Free is a good starting point. I think one of the issues being in between budget cycles for the town is finding a quality training for no price, which of course is impossible. But that's why this dialogue has been going on for a while with the college about this. So how this process works, once again, piggybacking off earlier today when we were trying to streamline information. So this process from this point, and this is more so for community members, the college and the town and the EAC have been working to lock up some trainings for about 2.5 months now, really since the start of the program, because we knew we wanted to partner with the college on several initiatives. But Vic and Ruth told us that the college will have some trainings that we can possibly advise. So the process goes like this. So make sure we're explaining it to the community. What we'll do after this meeting as a committee, of course, we're going to have questions that we're going to come up with and garner and get the responses from the college, or, to be more specific, Professor Stacy Emerald, and then take that information, draw out as much data and research as we can. Who is this for? How long in the training? What are the dates? Then if we're comfortable enough, and not just with this pitch right here, but any pitch in the future, once we're comfortable as a committee with all questions being answered and tying them directly into the plan and making sure the outcome is something that we all approve of, then we will come to the town council and advise them of, hey, here's a possible training that Washington College or this group or that group is offering, and we think it would be in the best interest advising the town to take this as it pertains to the plan. So with this process, just because you have been on the agenda doesn't mean you pitched it to us and it's over. It means we still, as the Equity Advisory Committee, still have to do our due diligence as far as still lining things up to get it closer to being confirmed. So of course you'll be hearing from Vic and Ruth Shogay a little bit more, because they're going to probably have the questions filtered through them to you, and then they'll report back. And then based on that, we may or may not, I don't make promises here, move forward with advising the town on that. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Okay. Keep me on your meeting list, Vic, when we get together.
All right.
To discuss that. Okay.
Okay, so that was the committee agenda. First off, I would like to thank, let me get this off the screen so I can see their face while we thanking them. Thank Megan, Professor Emerald, and Claire for coming today. Thank you all for being interested in working with the town of Chestertown and this plan. And thank you for giving us information, data, and tidbits to help this process not only be a seamless transition from community members to council to organizations, but just being a part of the Chestertown Unites Against Racism. So thank you all for coming today. Did I lose anyone? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We hear you now.
So I got to do that again? Cool. Let me rewind it. I wanted to thank Professor Stacy Emerald, Claire Hansen, and Megan White for coming today and being a part of our agenda, and also reaching out to the town and saying, hey, we would like to be more involved with the Chestertown Unites Against Racism. We have ideas on implementation. We have data. We have resources. And that's the key word right now. The town, with having no budget, the resources that organizations and institutions can provide. So thank you all for coming today and being a part of this meeting today. So thank you very much. I hope y'all heard that, because I ain't gonna do a third time. Did you hear me?
We heard.
Yep, all good.
So plan implementation. And as we see here, we have the three pillars: education, legislation, and unification. So what I would like to do, bear with me, is go to the town plan. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, this is the website, everyone, if you're new, Chestertown Unites Against Racism. I'm gonna click on the 16-month plan, click on the PDF file, then we're gonna, a beautiful logo. By the way, banners and yard signs are ready for donations, $50 for the banners, $20 for the yard signs, but we're gonna come down to the pillars.
Hey, John, we can't see the website. We can see the agenda still up on the screen if you think we can see the website.
You have to click on that window, John, that you're on, not right now. All we're looking at is the agenda.
Let me get this out of here. Are we good?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
good.
Cool. So scrolling down on the website, and this is just the Chestertown Unites Against Racism website. If you click on the PDF file, the 16-month plan, it'll show you the entire plan from start to finish. But we want to focus on this part of the agenda for plan implementation on the education, legislation, and unification sections. Now, we are doing a lot right now in the education pillars. And the way this is working, because we're getting our foundation and footing together, is the first phase is education and educating the community. Once we educate the community on several things, what's going on, why is this happening, networking, organizing, and all of these pillars you see with the videos, the trainings, projects, and dialogue, once we feel like as a committee and as a community and as a mayor and council, we have a firm understanding of the education pillar, then we'll move over to the legislation part and start trying to address some of those things. But I think as a committee, we think it's vital that the education part be addressed first. And when I'll go back to the agenda, you'll kind of see in parentheses how we break it down. Once we're done with legislation, we'll move over to unification. So that way, even though there's several moving parts of this plan, right now the concerted effort is on education, hence the Black church videos, the diversity trainings, the James Taylor Remembrance Project, and the book clubs. So as we go to, can you all see the agenda? I'm gonna get it. I'm still a rookie. Are we good?
Yeah, good.
Yes.
So if you look at the gentrification videos, you'll see in parentheses the education pillar, and the part of that pillar that it addresses is community dialogue and video series. We want to make sure when we put this agenda out that we put this for public consumption, so that way they know exactly where we are in the pillar when we talk about certain things. So gentrification videos, we spoke about it a little bit today with Megan and the SGA that's going to help us out with this. It's for the education pillar, but that will also spin into community dialogue and video series of videos and things of that nature. Also for plan implementation, we are setting up the dates or confirming the dates for the book club with Sherilyn Eichels on the courthouse lawn, which is a book about lynching. We have secured the books. When we get to public comment, I'll give a shout out, so to speak. But that is part of the education pillar, and it's more specifically with the James Taylor Lynching Project, which have a host of organizations that will be involved in that. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Right. Historic video selection, upcoming videos. We have the part 2 of the Black churches in the final stages of being edited. That should come out in the next 2 weeks. And we also have the part 1 of the community dialogue that Megan spoke to earlier today in the agenda, from the education pillar as well, with the community dialogue. That is actually getting edited as we speak. It's not in the final stages. They have begun the editing process on that, so we can share that as well on our platform of the website and YouTube.
John, I know we're trying to get this done, but I'm having trouble keeping up as a typist. So if we could, before you move on to the next thing, if you could just give me like a moment to write it all. I just want to make sure we've got everything captured.
I know, listen, I know how to pump my brakes. See, watch this. So, is everybody ready for the snow?
No.
Oh, how about this? While you're getting notes, Tom, did you want to talk about some of the things you're researching data-wise to give an idea of some of the direction we're going to head into down the line?
Sure. So I've been, like, I guess I've talked with John, and some of the things I've been doing is kind of doing some research type thing with my history background and things. And so I've spent a lot of recent time going into the Freedmen Bureau papers. That's part of the National Archives in DC. And they have it within the Freedmen Bureau papers. It's divided up by state. So I've looked in Maryland and specifically the Eastern Shore. And there's over 1,000 letters and stuff that was submitted to the Freedmen's Bureau just about the Eastern Shore, and then finding in Chestertown, and kind of digging into like some of these issues they're having with racism in the town, even, right immediately following the Civil War, setting up some African-American schools and stuff within Chestertown. So I guess the plans for the next month for, I'll have a kind of complete report on those kind of things. That's kind of where I am right now. I'm also kind of diving into some things with like disparity in incomes between whites and blacks within Kent County and Chestertown, which I share some with John. I think it's some pretty surprising data there as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Any questions, comments, concerns for Tom? And the reason I have him doing the data like ahead of us getting to certain points, especially in that legislative pillar, certain things are going to open up, so to speak, a Pandora's box. Once we start talking about gentrification and the effects that that has, we're going to start needing real data, research, and statistics to back what we're saying. We don't never want to be in a position of advising the town on something based on our own personal opinion. So I felt it was vital to have Tom, which outstanding pick, his historian vibe, where he was like, listen, John, give me anything to do with data and research and history, that's me. And to give him just a little bit and see how much information he's coming back with, I just know when it comes time to tackle certain parts of the plan, we're going to be well instructed with data and information. So thank you for that, Tom. And yes, we are setting some things up for the future agenda. Kate, we good? Are we good?
Yes.
See, that's all. Listen, we know how to pump the brakes around here. That's all you gotta let us know.
You're making too much progress, John. I'm like tailing along. I don't know.
So historic videos. We're in the final stages of editing part 2, and then community dialogue. We have just started editing part 1. I can't wait for both of these to come out. I like the direction of part 1 for the Black churches. And because I was a part of the community dialogue, I know there's going to be a lot of great feedback from just the pure conversation that we seen there. For new business, next month's agenda, now this might tweak a little bit based on following up with some things, but the Black Union of Kent County will report on their Juneteenth committee meeting, which they're going to have later this week. They're going to talk about the direction of the event, what we hope as a goal. I say we, I got my Black Union hat off, but take that off because I'm not going to report out, other members will. The effect of the goal and how we see this event being something where it's tourism for the town of Chestertown, but also it's giving the Eastern Shore a place to go for the rich history of the African-American community and have it be a staple here on the Eastern Shore where other counties on the shore travel to our city and be a part of this event. So it's a lot of new faces on this planning committee, a lot of newcomers to the town who've been reaching out to be a part of that. I know we spoke with Megan and the SGA with being a part of some of these things as far as planning. So someone will come for the Black Union of Kent County next week, or next month, I'm sorry. Historic signage, case in point, to piggyback on some of the things from earlier, and what I'll do is take that off. We have some community members who email and have ideas, but not only ideas, they have the funding for these projects. And what they're looking for possibly is to work with the town within the plan and have guidance or what goes on these historical signages, or who do we celebrate, and then where are these locations at in our town? So I don't want to give their name yet until we kind of go through the process that everyone else is going through, but we are in the middle of possibly doing that as well. And then the final thing was the African-American stories on the agenda, which I'll pull up quickly. I've been meeting with some historians in Kent County and Chestertown who are archive of information and data that's given us a lot of information and where to find pictures or videos of certain things like, I don't want to get their names wrong, Mr. William Perkins, not Pickram, William Perkins, if I'm not mistaken, James Jones, and some of those guys who were influencing the African-American community by way of resource assets, money, and land and education. So we're compiling some stories to possibly review for the video series as well.
Have you, sorry, John, have you been in touch with the Heartland Project? Because they are, and Sumner Hall, we already have a lot of that information.
Yes, well, Pat was just on the council meeting, and him and Chris, the mayor, are working on how do we streamline, and also we spoke about this with Vic in the Asterisk initiative, streamlining information and resources between the organizations to make sure we all showcase this work, because there are several organizations doing this work, and we want everyone to be able to showcase this work in partnership going back and forth. And that means, yes, drawing information or data from the Heartland projects, getting some information from the college, or maybe them coming to us and getting perspectives or information as well.
Okay, because a lot of that work is there, so already
Correct.
just to be
Yes.
drawn.
We're not going to reinvent the wheel. What we're because there's so many people doing this work, it's just a matter of, and which I like about this actual town plan, is organizing of community, and we're built within this plan. So it gives a big format for a lot of people to work together on an initiative and kind of go on the same goal. So hopefully I answered your question, Ruth.
Yes, I just want to know the information is out there and it's in places, but you have contacted those, and whatever we have at Sumner Hall can also.
Yes. And it's going to be a lot more coming in the future once our legs are firmly. I think we're operating on one good leg as a committee right now. I don't think we're on two yet. I think we're on one good leg. But once we really hit the ground running, I know we're going to work more with those organizations.
You're running, John. We're running. You're running.
We trying out here. We as a collective unit. Okay, for public comment, before I call on anyone for public comment, I do want to give some shout outs. Can we give shout outs? Can we do that here? Well, we're going to. Of course, they don't want us to make a big deal out of it, but we will kind of give credit and appreciation to community members or organizations when they do things for the plan. So for the book club, the courthouse, on the courthouse lawn, we were able to have 40 books donated from Vic Pfeiffer of Chestertown. So a big thank you to Vic Pfeiffer for doing that. A lot of people are hearing about budget cycles, so they like, here's how we can help, and they come with the solution. And also because my board from the Hoyas kind of pay attention, because they know this is taking my time from the Hoyas a little bit, where I'm delegating to them. On their own, the Hoyas organization said, you know what, we want to help as well. And they were able to donate the yard signs, so the town wouldn't have to pay for those. So the Bayside Hoyas donated the yard signs as well. So shout out to the Bayside Hoyas and Vic Pfeiffer. Thank you for being a part of the plan. Thank you for helping us out, and we appreciate that. Public comment. Public comment is for any individuals or organizations who would like to comment on the agenda. Now, of course, we know in the future that they might not comment on the agenda, but we want to make sure that those people are giving 2 minutes without interruption to voice their opinion, comment on concerns. So what I'll do is give a brief moment for if anyone want to make a public comment to comment in the box. Also, while we're waiting for anyone for public comment, if you want the link to the meeting, you must email us no later than the day of the meeting at 5 p.m. and you will get the link to the meeting. If you do not make the meeting for whatever reason, we archive all meetings on our website at chestertownunites.com. Right, we have no one for public comment. Let the record show no one was in attendance for public comment. In closing, do we have any questions, comments, and concerns from guests or committee members?
Yes, Bishop Fisher from Faith Life Church. I would like to ask, I believe it's Mr. Vic that donated the 40 books. I've got a couple of hungry young readers. Where would I get access to 1 or 2 copies of that book?
You talking to the man. So the no, but all seriousness aside, so the books are donated for the book club. We have 40 books where several organizations are going to be a part of this, from the Hoyas, the Black Union, Sumner Hall, the James. Let me not. undervalue this at all. The James Taylor Justice Coalition, which this is where this is all is coming from. And also Washington College, SGA, and possibly the DSU, and then some community members. So if they're going to be engaged in the book club, then yes, they can get a book, because we're looking for this to be a book club with a community dialogue component to it. And from that book club, which is talking about lynching, we're going to tie modern day lynching, AKA police genocide, to 18th century and 19th century lynching. We're going to discuss that within the book club. And then we're going to have community dialogue, which that might be the second or third installment for community dialogue. I'm not sure on that. And then out of that, solutions. We're real big in this plan on giving solutions on some of the things we're doing to kind of have an ending point. And we started here, but when we got here, here's all the things we were able to accomplish or set up. So to answer your question, yes, you can get 2 books. I'll reach out to, because everyone on the committee is going to have to be involved to the best of their ability. So we'll give the books out. So I will make a note of giving you 2 books. If anyone else on the committee wants to get a book or more than 1 book, email me, let me know. And to the public, if you see this, if you want to be involved in it, just email us at Chestertown Equity Advisory. Chestertown Advisory and Equity. I think I'm saying it wrong. Chestertown Equity Advisory at gmail.com. And we'll see about possibly having you involved in the book club. Does that answer your question, Bishop Fisher?
It does. Thank you so much.
Quick question.
Yes.
So I'm thinking like the local library, you can download books on your Kindle and read them for free. And they just get licenses for those books so that anybody can read them. I'm wondering if it would be worth like reaching out to Natalie at the library or something like that to ask them if this book could be, and I know they have book clubs books that are added to their list, their e-list, so that you can just download them. You don't need like an actual physical book. And that's one way. I mean, I could reach out to Natalie and see if it would be possible to add that particular title to their list of book club books, so they could get a license for it. So we wouldn't be limited to 40 copies. So it would be kind of like unlimited.
Yeah, well,
would be cool.
Yes, but here's the thing with this. Because a lot of this book has implications from like the Heartland Grant and other initiatives that fold into the plan. And we're not going to open this up to everyone in the community, because we're still trying to make sure we're kind of getting things in the actual plan done. So like the James Taylor Justice Coalition, I said that wrong, the Hoyas and a lot of other people who are kind of engaged in this work are going to be the ones with the physical copy. Now, down the line, once we figure out the structure of this, to your point, we may open it up to the public, and yes, then those type of things are possible. I actually did reach out to Arnessa McDowell, the new executive director of the library, just to put this on her mind, like, hey, possibly we can do mix and match resources, or if this is something you're interested in.
Because I think like from a town perspective, it'd be really easy, honestly, to make like the book club questions. Like normally the way it works is like, if you can't be part of a discussion, like a Zoom discussion, there's a list of questions, like you read the book and then you think about those particular questions, and sort of, whether and that way, if there were other people within the town that aren't part of these groups that wanted to read the book and think about it, I feel like it's probably a good thing. That we should encourage, like if people want to do it outside of the structure of what you're describing, John, then like we could provide them with a list of discussion questions if they want to read it on their own. So that'd be a way for like town residents who feel so moved to like read the book and talk about it on their own.
You're moving a little too fast. You're actually talking about the implementation of the rollout plan, but we're along those lines. It's just making sure we get to that point. Yes, but yes, agreed. Comments, questions, concerns? I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. The record show the meeting stopped at 8:10.